Welcome back. I've got Henry Yoshida on the line. Hello, Henry. How are you?
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for having me, Michael.
Really looking forward to this, and this is going to be beneficial. So, entrepreneurs, especially, and everybody, listen in. This is going to be some really good discussion. So, why don't you share a little bit about you and the work you do, and we'll go on from there.
Sure. So I have been in the retirement account space my entire career, and I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, you get the idea for what you want to start from your time in the corporate world. So ironically enough, 25 years in, I'm kind of almost split half and half actually right now. So I started at Merrill Lynch, and then I broke away after 10 years there to do consulting in the same field, so retirement plans, 401ks, IRAs. And since then, I have built and sold a prior fintech product in the retirement space. And then I'm currently working on a company called Rocket Dollar, which allows people to keep the same tax treatment of IRAs, but instead of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, we allow our customers to buy private and alt investments. So everything from crypto to real estate and anything private and alternative that's in between those two on the spectrum.
It's a great opportunity. And before I continue, this is just investment opinion, not advice, but you can work with Henry and he can give you some guidance on that. But we're going to keep it as not that I don't want to go into details, but just I always let people, I don't want them saying, Mike said to do this. I didn't
Yeah,
say to do anything, but it's important. But I want to bring, this type of conversation to the table because as we've seen over the last few years, for sure, the doors have opened for a lot more people to actually invest. And I think this is a really good thing. And the earlier you can start, the better, folks. It's important for you to just carve away some of your currency units and put it to your future use. Your future will thank you for this. I know you may not see it now, but it will for sure. So
right.
when by launching Rocket Dollar, and again, I love the format of it to allow people to invest in something besides the stock market and
Right.
bonds and things like that. What inspired you to launch the business?
It was a little bit of a learning and maybe thinking a little bit ahead to the future. So, ever since the turn of this century, ironically enough, you'd think that the stock market, you hear about it all the time. Companies have made it easier for average American investors to kind of go in and out of stocks. They talk about it. It's known. It's on your phone in an app, so you can always see the prices of it. But ironically enough, what people don't know is that in this entire century, the number of companies that are actually publicly traded is a fraction of what it was at the end of the last century. So at one point there was close to 16 to 18,000 publicly traded companies, and now there's 4,000. So and then obviously if you follow the markets today, there's even a heavy concentration that a lot of the returns are coming from not just the top 500 that we think, it's actually the top 7 to 10 of those 500 are really driving a lot of the returns. So in 2016, that's when I sold my last startup business. So that was acquired by a big financial services company in 2016. So Goldman Sachs acquired the platform that I built prior. And so I had some time to think about and canvas the space. And I thought to myself that, okay, um, the a lot of the sophisticated, the big investors, the wealthy people, they're going into these private investments. And that's actually one of the reasons why companies don't need to go public is because institutional investors and wealthy people can actually keep a company private for far longer. So they don't need to IPO and make their shares available. And I just thought that, okay, well, I probably can't do anything to change that. That's been happening. That's been a secular trend. But what if I can create a platform that makes it easier for the average American person with an IRA to then go into something private? And for them, it probably wouldn't be some company, but it might be real estate, like something that's not the stock market. So my whole premise was I need to give people the opportunity to access the money they already have to go into things that are not correlated, not tied to the stock market. So if the stock market zigs, they want to be in an investment that might zag, just going in opposite directions. And that was the thought process really was that I can create this company, Rocket Dollar, and I'll quickly tell you that that's actually tied to the name. So not only was it a domain that was available and that I owned, but the thinking behind it was that um, you could go further and farther with your money. Like you can go into things that you previously couldn't go into, just like you can go further and farther in a rocket versus a car or a bicycle or just you and I walking or running somewhere. And so that was kind of the genesis. And it wasn't me, that was my, at the time, 6-year-old daughter who kind of came up with that concept. So I thought if she could understand it, then at least 65% of Americans can understand it if a 6-year-old can. So,
Yeah, it's listen to your kids. They are little incubators of knowledge and observation when we're so busy trying to live our lives and build our platforms and everything else. You know, sometimes just listening to the curiosity of a 6-year-old can actually create something pretty magical. So it's awesome
yeah.
that she did that. But you know, you shared you know, that stat of, you know, the number of public traded companies have dwindled dramatically, which tends to tell you, I would think, that, you know, and I'm actually surprised we haven't, that there wouldn't be bigger swings in the market. Now, we've seen for a very long time, you know, the stock market do one of these climbing things,
Mhm.
and well, anybody that studies history knows what tends to happen. You know, there's corrections and whatnot,
Sure.
and I think that's where people that are, you know, looking at it and they go, "Yeah, we've been going up for a very long time. This roller coaster is about to drop at some point," and they're like, "What do I need to find something that may be a little bit more." Concrete, not necessarily safe, because I think a lot of investors understand the risk and reward and
Right.
understand that, you know, the safe
I never
bets.
use the word safe because safe is relative to what you're able to tolerate.
That's true.
So safe is not actually the right term. And the reality is that long run, and I do believe this too. I mean, as someone who's been in financial services for 25 years, and I still hold designations like a certified financial planner, so I am qualified to give individual investment advice to folks, and I have done that for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people through my 401k consulting days. But the so I still firmly believe that long run, yeah, the stock market always goes up, and that's going to continue to happen. So I want to be the first to say that I'm not building a platform because I think it won't. Now, the issue is that the time frame for when people actually accumulate monies towards retirement and then use those monies to live in retirement is one particular period in the overall stock market or the economic growth engine of the United States and the global economy. So if you have bad timing, then you could have lower returns, or you could be in one of these downdrafts because it really does matter when you're born is sometimes a blessing and a curse. When you start your job and get out of college and go into the job market, blessing or curse. When you're saving and accumulating money, blessing or curse just depends on timing. And when you retire, same thing. So, by just giving people more options, I guess what I saw in the market was that there are people in this space who have had IRA providers who allow their customers to invest in private alts like we do. What no one had done before was using a technology platform to make it just as easy to open an account, an IRA account, to do these types of investments as it is to do it in the traditional incumbent space for stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So your Fidelities, your Merrill Lynch's, your Robinhoods more lately, and SoFi's. And so forth. So that was really, my thinking in 2018. So there was this 2-year gap of me thinking about what to create and what to do, and I just thought that this is a combining of two markets. They're essentially $34 trillion in retirement accounts. Less than 1% of that money in retirement accounts in the US is invested in anything other than stocks, bonds, mutual funds.
Yeah, that's a big percentage of people that want to, you know, look at, you know, additional things to invest in or to diversify a little bit.
Mhm.
And I think that's, you know, and one of the things that I see too, you know, like real estate, for example, you know, there's no shortage of opportunities there as well. And you know, the classic ones is okay, you own property, but you know, we're seeing a lot more opportunities out there where you can participate in different things and not, you know, be on the hook per se of the clogged toilet or all those other things that we see a lot of landlords struggling with. But again, it's
Exactly.
you know, for me, I always look for, you know, opportunities of, okay, what, you know, what is something that I sense is going to be in growing demand or need, you know, over the next couple of decades. and and then, okay, what's going to be, it's harder to say necessarily what's going to be in demand well, right now we know it's in demand, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it depends. But we can follow trends and we can see where things are going, and also too, I think in leveraging an app and a platform like yours, it gives you some opportunities in a variety of different things. And that's one of the things that I, was so
Yeah.
impressed with is it wasn't just, okay, here's, you can invest in artwork or this or that. There's, all kinds of different options for you based on, your interest and curiosity and where you want to park your money.
Or maybe your knowledge. And so the thing for us is that the large majority of our customers, so we ourselves, we're a platform that creates these IRAs, but we're not an investment management platform. So we don't actually tell our customers what to invest in. We don't have investments that we sell. We just help them access money to go do these investments. So they typically find them on their own. And what I've found is depending on where you are. So I'm in Central Texas, so I probably have just a local person's knowledge of what the trends may be for real estate in the Central Texas area. So if I were to access my old 401k from Merrill Lynch to go do a private and alternative investment, of which I'm doing now, right now, I'm going through the process of purchasing an investment property using my self-directed IRA, Rocket Dollar, that it's because I have knowledge. I've lived here for, close to 25 years, actually more than 25 years now, because it goes to my undergrad days in college here at UT in the Austin, Texas area. And, I have this sort of idea that this particular property or this particular area presents a good value. It's a very rentable property. And someone else is going to have that same knowledge in a private company idea or industry or real estate. So one of the things I really like is that people bring their own deal and they get a chance to use their unique knowledge because right now it's very esoteric, right? The stock market is just a kind of a finger in the wind. You don't really know what's going to make that company go up or down. You don't really have a connection to that CEO. I mean, even if you happen to use their product, like you have an Apple iPhone or a Tesla car, I mean, it doesn't really mean that you have a connection to that company other than being a customer of theirs, to the ebbs and flows of what these multi-trillion-dollar companies may do. But if you access $250,000 of an old 401k to purchase a small rental property in your local area, you have unique knowledge if you've lived there for 25 plus years like myself. And that's just a different type of investment to hold. And I'm just mirroring people's money that they already have, typically trapped in an IRA or 401k that can only invest in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, depending on the provider, to unlock that money, keep the same tax treatment, but now use it to buy something more tangible. So you mentioned toilets earlier, that people are dreaded that they don't want to do that, but there's something a lot more tangible about knowing that you could go drive by your property and go fix the bathroom than there is today, I would say, in the public stock market.
Yeah, if a company and you own stock in them, you have no say in more or less, other than not buying something from them. That's the only voice you really have. But again, you mentioned Austin. We know, from a across the country standpoint that, that city, and you've seen it, has grown dramatically over the
Yeah,
last few years because of a variety of different reasons.
right.
It's not just everybody from California going there, kids. Okay, I say that tongue in cheek. But no, it's
Right. Some come from New York, so
yeah, oh
just
yeah.
kidding.
Oh well, yeah, they come from all over the place. It's an amazing area that I'm thrilled for the growth because it benefits everybody. The people that have been there a long time. I know some people like I kind of miss my old time, but it's like, yeah, but the growth creates opportunities, and opportunities just make, communities better, a better place to, with more offerings for people. And again, that's one of those things where you actually see your investment dollars making an impact. And that's a lot of people, they support nonprofits, they support different things because they want to see the impact of what their dollars are doing. Now, when
Mhm.
you're investing, you want a return on your investment, which is a good way to see how things are going. But you're also recognizing if you're, funding or own a multi-use or multi-residential property, for example, how many families are living their lives in your property? How many families are doing great things in their community that are using your property as their home base to do all the great
Exactly.
things that they do? There, it's a tighter connection And I
Mhm.
think that's where people long to belong. And when they feel that, okay, I'm investing in this type of thing, there's that sense of belonging more so than, what you, like you mentioned, the Apples and the Teslas. Yeah, we may love our iPhones, or if we own Teslas, we may love those cars, or we don't. I don't know.
Right.
I don't own one. I don't mind them. I try to stay neutral on anything because there's, this world right now
Sure.
is polarizing, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, it's transportation. It's a smartphone device that it does a lot of great things. But again,
Exactly.
having those options to invest in different things that you believe in and have the opportunity to do so is a game changer, in my opinion.
Right. And that's one of the things about Rocket Dollar. I mean, for those of your people in your community who might look it up, I mean, um, for us, it's a different type of account. I mean, there's different roles it could play in your investment and savings and financial life. One could be that it is a place for you to open an account and put a portion of your saved investment dollars to go into investments that help you diversify from what you predominantly have, which are most likely stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So that's one. Number two, and I'm glad you hit on that too, Michael, is that when I started the company, that was one of the things I really thought about was that what if a meaningful percentage of this 30, mid $30 trillion ish of money actually gets recirculated back into a local community? I mean, although, like your area and my area, we might have a lot of Starbucks restaurants, a lot of Domino's pizzas, and a lot of Teslas driving around and people using iPhones while driving those Teslas, or I guess that maybe the Tesla might drive itself. Um, that that's not really local. Those companies are not local to your city. But if a meaningful percent of this money got recirculated to invest in small private companies, local, let's say startups, or in real estate that help provide a stable home as a rental unit to a family who's then going to be able to live in your area, go to school, purchase things, do value added tax, pay sales tax, and so forth. That's a nice recirculation to the economy. And I did think about that when starting the company that what if 10% of that money in retirement accounts actually went away from public stock markets, but actually then went back. And we're only talking US accounts, got recirculated back into the communities because it went into real estate. That's, we're talking $3.5 trillion of, let's say, landlord and tenant actually living in the same city at the same time for the most part. I mean, I guess you could buy properties at a distance, but most likely people will start out by buying something close to them in their local area. That's going to be a significant shift in sort of what your retirement monies mean for you because you get the investment return, but you can also really fully say that you're reinvesting back into that community because now you own two properties of which you pay property tax. The one you live in is a primary, now the investment property and so forth. But it'd be interesting to think that over time, what could happen if a meaningful percentage of the 35 trillion in retirement accounts actually got recirculated back into things like local real estate. And that's one of the things I might tell your community that that alone could be a reason. You get the investment returns, you have knowledge in your own local area, and you get to diversify versus what you most likely already have, which is the same 500 stocks of which are driven by the same 7 to 10 in the returns for the last 10 years in your portfolio, just like everyone else's portfolio.
Yeah, and again, you get to improve your community. And when you do that, when communities grow, and I've seen communities, expand and explode beyond my wildest, just it's insane the amount of growth I've seen in some of the communities I've had the fortune to live in. And I'll go back and visit from time to time and go, I don't recognize that they've had so much growth. It's
Right.
like it's insane. And you look at it and it's like, okay, well, what created this? What happened? And it was a combination of a lot of things. Obviously there was some government assistance or help, or at least made it easier for businesses to open up and expand. And again, I'm a huge advocate for local business as much as I possibly can. Whenever I buy something, I'm like, I would prefer to buy from a local company than a chain. Nothing against the chains. I'm thankful they were
Right.
local once too. And so I'm not one to say I don't, frequent those places, but when you're supporting local businesses and imagine being able to invest in them, that changes things. Again, it goes back to what I said before. it tightens you to your community and makes you more engaged and more involved in what's happening in your community. And when you see the fruits of your labor and your investments and the impact that it causes, it changes things. You're still investing the same amount of money you were before. Who knows? You may be like, you know what, I want to invest more because I'm loving this, but
Right, right.
it gets to it just spending the time and investing in our communities in this, your platform creates that opportunity where that wasn't easy to do that long ago. And now it's become easier. And I encourage people to really take a look at that. So in closing, where do you, I'm not going to say crystal ball, but I know you said, the
Yeah,
multiple trillions of dollars that are shifting. Do you see, especially as if the trend continues, from what do you say, 16,000 publicly traded down to 4,000, and we're
yeah,
seeing, a contraction of that more, mergers like we saw, like I think the stat I saw, like 52% of the Fortune 500 from the year 2000 are no longer here. They're either got merged or, so
right.
you saw that you've lived through
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
So I anticipate, history may not repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. And I agree with you. I think we're going to see even more and more contraction to the point where it's not going to be the same. So people are going to go, I need to invest in something besides that. What is it? And we see people talk about gold, and of course, there's digital currency, and there's all those areas too. But again, I think your platform creates an opportunity for a lot of people to really have some options, more options than they've ever had before.
Right, right. And it's funny because it's just to access the money that you already have. And I do think that this sort of the availability of private investments is going to continue to go up just because there are just more ways to get the information out. And you've already seen some of these mega-sized private companies that exist right now. And these are probably not the ones that a regular person can invest in right now, but they're very large. So the parent company of ChatGPT, OpenAI, just recently got valued in a new investment deal at $550 billion. So $550 billion, if they were to, if they were a publicly traded company, would be in the top 10 right now in the United States. So that would already be a top 10. SpaceX is another privately held company. Also would be in the top 25 if it were a publicly traded company, but those shares are not available to the public. So I don't think anything's going to change that part, but the public could speak by saying that, hey, I want to take my investment dollars and start to purchase things that are more meaningful, closer, or let's say I'm able to sort of research and understand on my own, which might be a rental property 20 miles away on the other side of town because you happen to know that the highway is going to continue out that direction in your local town. So as far as what I think is going to happen in the near future, I think that there will be an explosion of people owning private investments using tax advantaged accounts, very similar to the wave I saw at the beginning of my career, where it was right on the cusp of people being comfortable starting to buy individual stocks in their brokerage accounts, as opposed to owning them in funds or having someone, kind of give them advice of what stock to buy or sell and when to buy and sell that particular stock. That was a pretty taboo thing in the late 90s and early 2000s, right? But now it's almost expected. Like it's actually probably less common for you to have a financial advisor that only helps you with stock picks. Like they may help you with planning, and that's very prevalent today, but not with picking stocks and selling stocks. And I think that in the near future, it'll be very, very prevalent or normal for people to have an IRA, one type, like a Rocket Dollar account that would allow you to own private and alternative investments like real estate, like digital assets and cryptocurrency, for example. And then another one that holds your traditional stocks, bonds, and mutual funds like they did only back in the day. That's how people refer to it. And that's my sort of like Uber conversation too, which is that it seems like it's been our lifetime, but really just in the recent past, the idea of getting picked up by your friend from the airport or just saying that, hey, I'll just meet you at your house, give me the address, and I'll take an Uber. I mean, that's a 50-50 conversation that quite frankly did not exist 15 years ago. That was an impossible conversation, but now it's so normal. It's a verb in and of itself. Like, and if anything, probably the Uber is more, prevalent than getting picked up by your friend at the airport today.
More reliable, that's for sure. So, Tongue in cheek
Yeah.
to the friend that's listening to this right now. He knows I
Right.
love him. We're all good, bud. So love this conversation, Henry. Where can people find out more about you, Rocket Dollar, and everything else you're doing?
Sure. So for Rocket Dollar, really easy. So we have the website rocketdollar.com, ROCKET, dollar DOLLAR.com. Lots of information there. And then, even though we're a technology company in the late stages of 2025, we have a phone number there. So we do answer the calls. So this is just answer questions. It's educationally based. You can get ideas on whether this type of account's right for you, but you can call us at 855 Rocket D, so which is 855-762-5383. So that number we answer during business hours, and we're happy to just answer your questions about these types of accounts, alternative investments, and maybe to a lesser degree, but not from an advice standpoint, like how you might approach your own retirement savings.
It's awesome. I'll definitely have that in the show notes. So, Henry,
Yeah.
thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Loved our conversation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.